Hello, my lovely peaches. I'm sitting here in my car, and so I'm on like a roll today in my mind. It's like truly stream of consciousness. It's kind of a series of videos which I've been making. I did a live stream last night. I did one this morning, and then I just did a live stream this afternoon. And I believe that I covered a lot of really great points. So this video is part 4 of why I recommend to anyone not to date. Just don't date. Just more people need to be focused on their personal growth. I feel that more people need to be focused on their own healing from the traumas in their childhood, learning how to actually genuinely discover who you really are. A lot of people have really great skills and talents and interests and inherent qualities that could benefit humanity, but you're with the wrong person, and so therefore you're not on your true path, and you're not really that happy anyway. Or, maybe you're not with someone, but you're like desperately trying to find someone. There's so many people out here like literally shopping online for love. They think that they can know based on sexual attraction and who they think is like sexually attractive, who you think is pretty or handsome. You believe that these are the qualities that is going to make a compatible partner. So in part 3, my last live that I just did, I was talking about how I personally believe that the highest quality woman would be a truly independent woman who's living for her own personal joy and fulfillment, and then of course those are the ones that she loves around her. But then it occurred to me that for these misogynistic patriarchal men, that's the worst kind of woman. In fact, that's the one that they hate the most, who's the biggest threat. And hold on, I just had to run out and tell him to come on because he has a banquet to go to. I wasn't going to let him come. I'm talking about my son. I wasn't going to let him come to practice. But then I said, well, if you come right away, because normally he wants to keep playing after practice is over. I'm working on contributing to humankind by being a strong, independent woman. I guess this next version of myself is going to be focused on helping women, no matter how young or old, to gain independence. Whether you want to continue dating, whether you are dating, or you want to take a break from it for a while, or you want to, now he's running back over there. So, I went through stages. In my early 20s, I very much wanted to get married and have a family on one hand. But then in the same time, the idea of getting married and having a family felt like a trap. It felt like a prison. Oh, that's what I was talking about. The quality. What makes a high quality partner? So a misogynistic man's perspective, from a man who, whether he truly believes it or he's drinking the Kool-Aid because it benefits him, like one guy yesterday was saying, when I was talking about white privilege, and he said something like, well, yes, I do like it because it benefits him, but I don't think it's fair. Like, okay, way to be a self-serving hypocrite. So if you don't think it's fair, you wouldn't like it. Or, excuse me, I guess if you weren't misogynistic and racist, you wouldn't like it. I don't like it because it hurts people that I care about. Now I'm back home, but I only have about 12 minutes or less until we need to head out, and then I'll come back. So, if you really care about equality and you care about people, you care about the people that are harmed by a system that you benefit from, and you're a good and decent person who actually, so that's what I was saying. That guy who was like, well, I have white privilege and I do like it, even though I don't think it's fair. And I said, like, if you didn't think it was fair, if you thought it wasn't fair, you wouldn't like it. But the fact is that many people don't care about fair. So if you cared about fair, if you cared about people having equal opportunities and equal access, and you cared about equality, and you cared about actually showing up and doing your part, then you would care about racism, and you would care about misogyny and xenophobia, and you wouldn't look at women as someone who is there to serve you. The idea of women, it being a woman's job to do all of the work around the house and the childcare and the cooking and the cleaning and the shopping and the gifts and all that stuff, it would actually outrage you. So what I was saying about high quality woman, if you're a misogynistic man who, your view of the perfect woman is a woman who wants to, who's also misogynistic, who drank the Kool-Aid, who's buying the role, she's buying into this idea, the tradition, whatever, that, the man is the head of the household and the provider and the protector. And I wanted to say, like, some guy commented in the last video about, well, I'm not asking you to cut the grass, which I pointed out, like, my own father would sit there reading a book while my mom was out in the yard cutting the grass. And we had a big ass yard too. And then me and my sister would rake the grass clippings sometimes and have to bag it up because she didn't feel like having to, redo the bag. So we would all pitch in. Sometimes she would do it all by herself. A lot of the times she did. But sometimes we would help, like families should. My dad was actually, unfortunately, a man who did not do much to help my mom. He also wasn't the breadwinner. He was incredibly talented and incredibly intelligent and all of this stuff, but he didn't have emotional intelligence. And there's so many men out here who they drink the patriarchal Kool-Aid because it benefits them. And then their version of the perfect high quality woman is that woman who will cook and clean, who expects to stay home with the children, or if she's like I was talking about that on the therapy, the clip of this show about therapy for couples, and it's like the woman she looks beautiful, so she's playing the part, she's doing the character, she's got all the makeup and all the hair and nails and eyelashes and everything, and head to toe, all sexy, beautiful, gorgeous, and she's earning double what he's earning. But the patriarchy is so deeply ingrained that instead of him being proud of her and happy for them, it's his ego. Okay, I'm on my way home. I'm dropping the kids off at the banquet. So I was just talking about this couple on a show about therapy and how, because the man's ego is bruised, because he's been taught his whole life that he's supposed to be the breadwinner, that because he has a penis, It's his job. It's a requirement that he earns more money than the person who has a vagina that he's in a relationship with. So our society is so desperately obsessed with the genitals and what your genitals mean about you, how much money you're supposed to earn, that a man who has a high earning wife can actually turn himself into a victim, and other men will sympathize with him. Other women will understand that the woman is going to have to deal with this bruised ego. There's so much misogyny interwoven into everyday life, and it's really just annoying and stupid and fucking harmful to women. It's incredibly harmful to women. And so, as I was saying, you know, the kind of woman that a misogynistic man is going to think is the best kind of woman is the kind of woman who thinks that cooking and cleaning and raising the children and doing all the housework is her job. And that she basically drank the Kool-Aid. She's agreeing with that. Back home. So whether she loves it, it's her goal in life, it's her best case scenario, her dream come true, or she just accepts that that's what women are supposed to do, that's how she was raised as well, or she just tolerates it, she just accepts that it's part of having a family, is that you're expected to do all this stuff. So just now when I was out and about waiting at lights and various stuff, there were people. I just saw a man and a woman standing together on the front lawn. She's holding her bag, he's talking to her, he's gesturing here and there and the other thing, and she's kind of got like a tolerating this face. And then another man, looked like they were saying it was like a 2-family house. And then another man was like coming home, I guess, and then was saying something to the woman. And then she suddenly starts smiling big and like looking happy. And I was just thinking about like, maybe she's super happy that this guy is her partner. Maybe he's, you know, really sweet and helpful and, you know, helps and does, you know, like I'm saying, helpful. I think I said in the earlier video, men believe that when they're doing something around the house that they're helping you, instead of recognizing, some men, instead of recognizing, I'm just doing chores that need to get done. If you were to list out every single chore, scrubbing the toilet, mopping the bathroom floor, cleaning the bathroom mirrors, cleaning the sink, cleaning the cabinet doors, getting the dust off of the ceiling, scrubbing the tub, scrubbing the shower walls, scrubbing the shower ceiling, cleaning the door, the water knobs, cleaning the faucet, taking out the garbage, cleaning off the windows, cleaning under the radiator, you know, everything. You do that for every single room and every single house. All of, you know, your clothes, your kids' clothes, kid 1, kid 2, the man. And you've got your bedding, you've got your sheets, and you've got your blankets and your comforters and your pillowcases. You've got your floor towels, you've got your shower towels, you got your shower curtains. You've got the food shopping. You've got everything. You could just go on and on and on and make this 1,000,000-point list of every single chore that needs to get done in a house where people live. And what's so insane to me is like so many men are like, well, I mow the lawn and I get the oil changed. It's like 3 tasks in a year you think equals to the thousands of little to-dos on the list every day, every night, every afternoon, every evening, every meal, every breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, dessert, on, day and night, year after year, month after month, week after week, day after day. And because they do a handful of tasks that require maintenance a handful of times across an entire year, it's very similar to what I was saying, like commenting back to that guy's comment when he's like, it takes a man and a woman to make a baby. Right. The 5 seconds that it took you to ejaculate into her vagina, which felt good to you because you were having an orgasm, you think that that's the equivalent of getting pregnant, being pregnant, carrying the baby, having labor, nursing the baby, having that baby clinging to you for the first couple years, waking up at night, doing all the things. And because you masturbated into somebody, maybe you were making love, maybe you felt great, maybe she orgasmed too. But it's like, wow. So then I also wondered, like, is this woman, she's in this relationship because, you know, most people are wired to want to be in relationships. We're fed this fantasy that romantic relationship, romantic love is where it's at. See, it used to be more obvious that women were being subjected to a life of unpaid labor, and that because, you know, women didn't have the right to be independent, women didn't have the right to have a bank account, women didn't have the right to vote, women didn't have a right to just be an independent person. Women needed their father or their brother or their husband's permission to have a bank account or to go somewhere or to have a credit card or to get divorced, and, you know, all of these things. And then society would ostracize a woman if she wanted to be independent. And there is still a lot of that, although of course now we do have more rights and more freedoms and more ability. And that's what's so enraging to so many men, that the women that are out here have a choice now. And to say, I would rather be single and spend all the time in my life that I have to do the things that I want to do with the people that I want to do them with, and to actually have the audacity to recommend to young women, hey, if it's your dream to get married young and to have a family and to then go ahead and do that, and maybe to work out great for you. And, you know, 50% of marriages, hang in there. Maybe you'll get to be one of those. How many of those 50% marriages are actually happy? It's not for me to say. So if you think this is cynical, man-hating, you know, ugly, spinster syndrome kind of stuff, great. Then so be it. But I'm saying, now, am I saying that no woman should ever date any man ever? No. I'm just saying, if you have fallen for the myth that gets sold to us that marriage is not still actually like a business transaction where the woman is going to, again, unless you find some truly magical, unusual man, the majority of women out there are ending up with these men who have that long list of chores that I mentioned in their mind, that's your job. So my whole thing is, if I have to do that stuff anyway, at least I don't have to do it for a whole nother grown-up. It's like I'm doing it for me. I do most of that with my children. I am teaching them day by day how to also do those things. I am their mother. I am raising children. I am making sure the house is neat and tidy to the best of my ability. And I am teaching them that these chores are just part of your day-to-day life. And it doesn't matter if you live alone, if you live with a roommate, if you have a romantic partner, if you have, your best friend, if it's a roommate, a college roommate, on a dorm, if you're in the university, like whatever it is, whether you live by yourself and you are your own roommate, ultimately that, these are skills that you need to have because these are life skills. Unlike that super wealthy boyfriend that I had in my 30s, where his mother waited hand and foot on the father. The father did nothing. The mother did everything. And then she raised her daughter to be a slave to her one-day husband. And she raised her son to be an entitled master to his one-day wife, that the mom expected that she would arrange the marriage of, to ensure that the woman that married her son was built to be a slave just like she was. So when I came into the picture, his mom was pissed. She was like, how is this fucking American woman going to be able to do all the shit that I'm expecting your wife to do for you? And then, we were like, oh no, we love each other. And then I ended up moving, I got us an apartment. I put down the down payment. I had the job to pay the rent. He moved in. Actually, first he came from where he was because it was long distance, and he was living with me, and I was going to work every day, and he was staying in my apartment, didn't have a job, didn't have any money to contribute, didn't clean up, didn't cook, didn't do nothing. He was supposed to be looking for a job, but every day he would just sit in the house and watch TV. This rich, entitled fucking guy. And then his parents were so mad that he came and lived with me. So his dad went into another business and said, hey, you come and be the general manager. Come back from being with that girl, that white American girl, and come be the general manager. And he was like, okay, fine. And he left. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go live where you are. And let's go to Chicago. And so he was working for his dad at this job, and I got an apartment in Chicago, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna come and live with you. And then because the job was like an hour away from the apartment, he decided, I'm not doing that. I'm only gonna go like once a week. And I'm trying to think, because at some point he tried to get a job as a salesman somewhere. And it was like 3 blocks away, and he would walk there, but then he would just complain. I mean, he was such a fucking lazy fuck. But he spent most of the time just like sitting in the apartment all day watching Seinfeld. He didn't know how to cook. He didn't know how to clean. He didn't know how to do laundry. He didn't know how to make toast. He didn't know how to do nothing. And I was like, yeah, your mom is right. I ain't the one, bitch. I am not going to have a fucking invalid grown-ass man who can do all the things but just don't want to. And then he ended up getting married to some woman that his parents arranged, and he was such a fucking loser, she left his ass. And he was such a bad father that she was like, I'm taking the kid and then I'm going back where I came from, so fuck you. So is that bad ex? Is that every guy? No. I'm just saying, there are men like that out there. There are men who, like my other ex, who it was nowhere near that extreme. Didn't seem that extreme. But in the end result was very similar. That, he grew up, with these ideas that, mom is the one who cooks and cleans and does all the things and is with the kids and does all the social and blah, 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 and dad just goes to go to work. And when he comes home from work, he kind of disappears, and I don't know where he goes. I don't know what he's doing. So if you are actively involved in a romantic relationship and you're happy and that's where you want to be, then this video is not for you. If you are, looking to get married and you want to start a family or whatever it is, you don't have to have a family just to get married, but, this video is probably not for you. If you're young and you're feeling kind of bad that you don't have a partner or something, maybe this video is for you. And, what I'm here to say is, instead of spending so much time being preoccupied and focused on what man you might end up dating and what kind of romantic relationship you might end up having, focus on how you can spend all that time and energy that you would be spending getting to know him and getting to spend time with him and getting to figure out what he likes and figuring out how to make yourself look and act and talk and walk and dress and all the stuff to impress him. And start to think about what impresses you, what makes you intrigued, what makes you interested, what brings you joy, what makes you feel fulfilled and satisfied and up-leveled. And, this message is going to be for like 20% of people. And then of the 20% that this message is for, maybe only like 2% of those people will find the message. And maybe only 1% of that 2% will listen and take it to heart and say, wow, you know what? She's right. I really don't need to be worried about having a man in my house, because all of the things that you would have to do if that guy was there, you might have to do a lot of those things, but to a much smaller degree. Less cooking, less cleaning, less chores, less shopping, less running around after somebody. Because grown-ass people make a lot of mess and stuff, and they eat a lot, and they need space, and they have things. And just imagine all of that stuff that you wouldn't have to worry about if you decided, you know what, being single is not a bad thing. And whether it's your family who thinks it's bad, or you're embarrassed to show up at events by yourself. I mean, that's another thing. That's another benefit for me being an introvert. When I go to events or parties or holidays or out to, the festival, the jazz festival, whatever it is, and I'm going with my sister, or I'm going with my kids or my mom, or, I have a friend, I'm not embarrassed by that. I don't feel less than. I don't feel like I'm obligated to have a romantic date or something with me. So it doesn't bother me. There are other people who maybe that you just don't, you don't feel comfortable going to some event solo or with a friend or your sister. Maybe your sister's got her husband and you want to have your partner too. That's like a personal issue. There are movies like built around this whole concept of like somebody's going to go home for Christmas and they're so embarrassed and ashamed that they're going to go without a partner that they pay somebody to pretend to be their partner. Like there's so many movies like that, where the premise of, let's pretend we're engaged, let's pretend you're my date, let's pretend you're my boyfriend, because somebody is so desperate for me to have this person that I'm going to fake it instead of just show up single. So it's just so deeply ingrained in our society, and that's why when I was on those lives before, there was so much hate coming in the comments, because so many men are enraged at the idea that a woman would have the audacity to suggest that you can be happy and fulfilled, and not only just happy and fulfilled, but that, you know, you can actually accomplish like so much more in your life if you aren't focused on what a man wants, what a man needs. There's a lot of money to be saved. I mean, you know, hey, a lot of women, they get dressed fancy and they put makeup on and high heels and sexy stuff, and they do that because they want to. And that's what makes you feel good. And you feel so pretty when you wear that stuff, and you would do it single or not. And, you know, that's just how you want to show up into a room. And if that's the case, kudos, you look gorgeous. I'm jealous of women who are, you know, or I should say I'm in awe. I'm not really jealous. I mean, you know, sometimes I have wished, like, I wish that I had whatever it is that would make you willing to do all that stuff. But I just simply don't. I don't have the desire to put on makeup. I don't have the desire to wear tight-fitting, boobalicious clothes. I don't feel like wearing mini skirts and high heels. Did I ever do that? Yeah, sure. You know, at some point. Will I ever do it again? Yeah, sure, maybe. Maybe someday if I'm in the mood or if there's the occasion. Sure, I like dressing up and looking pretty and feeling good, but for the most part, like day to day, I don't feel like having to worry about, you know, what my man thinks about if I got some hair grew in my armpit, I got some hair on my legs, or maybe I got a little big bush down there, or, you know, maybe I didn't get that chin hair yet, and what, you know, oh, I didn't pluck my eyebrows, and like, I'm sure that there's a lot of women who have all of this maintenance that they feel obligated to do, and they probably feel obligated to do it when they're single, just as much as when they're not single. There's probably plenty of women who don't care and who don't do all that stuff, and they're perfectly happy and their man doesn't care. And there's men out there, like, I had a little crush on this guy one time, and I think he had a little crush on me. And he used to tell me how he loved that I didn't wear makeup, and that he loved that so much. And, you know, I was with my baby's daddy at the time, and he had a girlfriend, and so we had like a little crush on each other, but it was never, like, nothing ever happened. You know, we would just have these cute little conversations for a few minutes. And he was like, my girlfriend likes to wear makeup, and gosh, I just wish she wouldn't. I just love the clean face. And I was like, wow, now this is a unicorn, because most of the guys that I was involved with would wish, you know, they would say like, oh, I wish you would wear makeup. I wish you would wear high heels. And, this, you know, the one guy who was like the worst, he was like, you know, you need to get your nails done and this and that. And, you know, the way you walk around, you're representing me. And I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, bye, goodbye. We are not well suited for each other. These are not the drawers you're looking for. And no, this ain't the pussy for you, motherfucker. And yeah, you know, when you're single and you're not willing to mingle, there is so much freedom. It just feels so good. Feels so good. And, you know, if you choose to be single because you just feel so good to be single and you don't want to have to, you know, be centered, like male centered in your mindset, and always thinking about, if you have a date, if you have somebody you're dating, it's always like, well, what's he doing? And when does he want to see me? And I got to look this way and that way and the other. And if you enjoy that and it's fun for you, great. Again, you wouldn't be here in this video. But if it's a drag and it's expensive and it takes so much of your time and your energy and you end up feeling bad, and you realize that the dating life actually feeds more into your insecurities and makes you feel triggered, and it's so exhausting and so dissatisfying, then I highly recommend be your own SP, date yourself, focus all your energy and channel all your time into your own self-improvement. What is your curriculum for your own growth? Where are you now? Write down all the things what's your salary right now, how much you're bringing in, how much you want to bring in, where do you live, where do you would like to live, what do you drive, what would you like to drive, what are you doing day by day, how do you get paid, what would you like to do day by day, how would you like to get paid, what's the gap between where you are and where you want to be, what do you need to do to get from A to Z? And when you feel sadly and alone, lonely and sad, and you wish you had a man, and you wish you had, I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I had somebody to give me a massage. I wish I had somebody to, like, what? Give me a little hug. I mean, that's the thing. When you really think about all the reasons why you would have a man, a lot of the time, it's like, if you want emotional connection, you can get that with friends and family. A lot of the time, when a woman ends up in a relationship with a man, all of the things that she wished that she would get from him, she gets from her best friend. She gets from her mother. She gets from her job. She gets from her children. She gets from maybe a hobby. She gets it from some outside source. And then, you know, a lot of women end up realizing that, well, you know, your husband can't be everything to you anyway. And, you know, the happiest way to live your life is to have all of these outside connections and other parts of your social network and different streams of income. And I think that that's super healthy, and that's how it should be. And in a healthy relationship, it would be that way. But most people, I think, end up being really, really unsatisfied because you were sold the fantasy of the romantic relationship. And so men are sold the fantasy that a woman is going to be there to cook, to clean, to have the babies, to raise the babies, to take care of the babies, to arrange all your social outings and all the special dates and all the gifts and all the shopping and all the things, everything. He sold this relationship idea that you're going to find a good woman, and then, you know, you get to go to work and make some money, and she's going to do everything else. And that's his version, quite often, of this romantic love affair. He gets to show up to special occasions and just chill, eat all the food that other people made, watch shows, maybe throw a little football around in the yard, and maybe carve a dead bird. And then, and then it's all good. And then you're watching football while everybody else is doing all the other hard work. And, you know, and it's such an ingrained part of our society that, you know, a lot of women just opt out. A lot of women don't want to do it. A lot of women would rather not. You know, then you have to deal with his ego. Then you have to deal with his, like, it's just so much work. It's just such a burden. It's just, you know, and so when I say I'm opting out, I'm choosing to be single. The fact is that it is pretty easy when you go out into the world. How do you avoid men hitting on you? Well, you know, like I said, you dress down if that doesn't make you feel bad. But like some women feel really bad about themselves when they go out without makeup and wearing sweatpants. I feel empowered. I love myself. I'm like, I feel so good. And then, you know, I don't like look into men's eyes and like flirt with them. And I don't keep looking back at them. And I'm independent. I'm focused on me. It doesn't mean that I've never been hit on. No, of course. You know, men, they try, but you're polite and you just keep it moving. That's what I do. And often I just don't really even bother to like looking. If I see a man, I just kind of look away. Am I friendly? Do I say hello? Yes, of course, if it's appropriate. But I've learned, like in my earlier days, I would attract a lot of unwanted male attention. And then I noticed that there's little subtle shifts that you can do. Does it mean that, you know, these subtle shifts will make sure that no guy harasses you? No, because men who are harassing you aren't looking at subtle behavior. But the majority of men who are just, you know, these average guys, if you're not looking at them and you're not keep glancing back at them and you're just minding your own business, doing your own thing, they're going to leave you alone. And if you happen to be incredibly beautiful and super sexy, then maybe men will approach you. But just because a man approaches you doesn't mean that you have to date him. And so, you know, some of you women are just drop dead gorgeous. And even if you're just without makeup and in your sweats, you are going to attract a ton of guys. And I don't have that problem. So, you know, for some women, it will take more effort to, you know, avoid a man. But it's certainly possible, and it certainly feels amazing to just be independent. And, you know, when I need somebody to work on my car, I take it to the mechanic. When I need some plumbing help, I call a plumber. If I need somebody to put together some piece of furniture that I can't figure out how to do it, then I can call somebody and pay them. It's like, I don't have to have some guy up in my space all the damn time just for, you know, a handful of like little chores over the years. No, thank you. It's not worth it. The amount of labor that is involved in maintaining a man is just, oof, you guys are high maintenance. No thanks. Opting out. And I didn't let the nail polish dry, and then I just smeared it. Alrighty. Now I think I'm officially all talked out about this topic for now. Those are my thoughts. And yeah. So I highly recommend that you channel your time and your energy and your love and your desire and your passion and your wanting into yourself. And work on you and every characteristic that you desire in a partner. Work on developing that characteristic in yourself. Before I hang this up, I wanted to talk a little more about the myth of unconditional love, which I also touched on in the other videos. But along with the myth, the fantasy of romantic love, and so now that so many women have smartened up to the fact that marriage and romantic relationships is often just a trap. It's a business arrangement where the man's expectation is that the woman is going to be doing all of this physical labor in the home and all of the stuff, and that he's going to have the freedom to come and go, hang out with his friends, go to his job, do whatever he wants to, hang out with his boys. And many successful men are only successful because they have this enslaved person who is doing all of the hard work to maintain the home and the children. And they don't have to pay them. So in the name of romantic love, they don't have to hire a housekeeper. They don't have to hire a cook. They don't have to hire an errand person. They don't have to hire childcare, because you're doing it all in the name of love. And you're doing it because that's what you think you're supposed to do. You're doing it because that's what you're conditioned to do. Maybe you're doing it because you absolutely love it, and it's the best part of your existence. But the idea of that is also wrapped up into this idea of unconditional love, where you're led to believe that the best and highest and ultimate type of love is love with no conditions. But when there's no conditions, that means, you know, hey, if they're a really nice person and everything just happens to be great, then maybe what it means is that they just love you no matter what. But why should you love someone no matter what? Again, love as in not whether you have feelings for them or not, or feelings of kindness and you know, positive hopes for them, but to spend time with them, to be in their physical presence, to let them have access to you, to consider their feelings and their desires and their preferences for what you're going to eat, or where you're going to go, or what you're going to do, or what you're going to wear, or where you're going to live, and all of these things. But with no conditions, what does that mean? They can do whatever they want. They can treat you however poorly they want to. They can neglect you. They can hurt you. They can cheat on you. They can, some men are not cheaters and they're not beaters. They're just not that interesting. They're going to work. They're paying the bills. They're coming home. They're watching TV. They're watching sports. They're hanging with their boys. They're going fishing. They just get their fish and their beer. And, they're just not really contributing to your happiness, to your joy, to your well-being. Your life is humdrum and mediocre, and all of the things that you really rather be doing, you're not doing, or maybe you are doing, and you're just like, what is the point of this fucking guy? Just so I can cook and clean for him? Oh, I'm supposed to love him unconditionally. Well, why? When people push for unconditional love, it really always ends up being somebody who wants to abuse you. Because if you have no desire to abuse somebody, then you wouldn't be upset about them having some conditions. If someone has conditions and you find them reprehensible, then you get to say, I don't, like, for example, if you're dating a guy or you're married to a guy and his conditions is that you're supposed to cook, clean, and do all the things, you can say, those are your conditions. I'm not interested. Maybe you've done it for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Maybe you've done it all this time. But now you're just like, you know what? I've matured from that point. Maybe I was compatible with that at the time that I made those decisions. Or maybe I didn't recognize, maybe I didn't know that this is what it was going to be. I married you. I said till death do us part, and sickness and health and all this crap. But then, you know what? It's like, no, actually, I'm not okay with just having to do all this stuff and all of these expectations on of the mental load and the emotional load and the physical load and this constant pressure to have your house look a certain way and to be a certain way and for you to look a certain way and for all the things. And it's like for such a small payoff for so many women and men. For so many men, gay men, anyone who's dating a man. And, hey, sometimes, if you're a lesbian, maybe it sucks for you. Sometimes the man, a lot of times a man has these expectations of the woman, and then she's just like, no. And then you think you got a bad woman. That's what I'm saying. What do you think is a high quality woman? You think a high quality woman is a person who expects to do all these things and just give you a free pass every day. And again, it's easy for a man to say like, no, I'm not misogynistic. I just like, that's just the way it's supposed to be. That's nature. That's just biology. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you. My conditions are love is conditional. If you're going to be abusive, if you're going to be exploitative, if you're going to be boring and mediocre, my condition is I'm just not interested. And anyone who finds that threatening, you are a danger. You are the problem. And you are the reason why a girl like me is in a place like this where I'm no longer enchanted by this idea of romantic love and all the stuff that you see on the shows. Sure, it's fun to watch, but it's funny, even how I watch shows and like who I end up like, I used to watch shows and then I'd be like really rooting for this couple to end up together instead of this one or whatever, and now I watch shows and it's just like, I don't even really care that much. Yeah, maybe I prefer this actor to that actor and I think that they would be a better pairing, but it's just kind of like, what difference does it make? It just feels less critical, less crucial, because it's just like the reality of most relationships, it's really not that happy. It's just like we're being sold this idea. It's like an old idea from the olden days where, a woman's only value is whether or not she's got a husband, and like, no, thank you. I just don't see the benefit. I mean, other than a possible tax benefit from being married, but it's like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to get all roped up on somebody? Maybe one day I will, you know, in an organic fashion, I will meet some kind of guy who will be interesting enough that I'm curious to know you a little more. It's fun to talk to you. Let's talk. And, you know, but at the same time, I feel so protective of my space and my heart and my time and my energy and my body and my children and everything that I've worked for and all my minutes, everything. It's just like, ugh. It would have to be somebody that I think is probably just a pure fantasy. Which is why at this point I'm like, you know what? The fantasy of a fantasy boyfriend is better. He don't argue. He don't talk back. You know? The reality is like the reality of how much time and energy it takes for a real guy versus like, you know, I'm so busy doing the things that I'm doing and when I want, you know, a little romance in my life. So, you know, you watch a couple episodes of Emily in Paris and you wish that Gabrielle was your man. And then you move on. And you just go back to living your life. You don't have to worry about Gabrielle's underwear in the middle of the floor and Gabrielle's hair in the sink and Gabrielle's mood and Gabrielle's this and that and all this. No, thank you. I don't want the real thing in that way. Maybe one day I'll change my mind and then I'll have a completely different set of ideas to talk about and to share. But I think that what's really safe for a lot of women is to just take yourself off the market and to say, my peace is where it's at. My own time spent on my own development is worth everything. And with that, I will go. And I'll see you next time. And we out.